Good morning and happy Moodle Day. Remember that your assignment is to do examples or do numbers 1 through 13 on Geometry Semester 1 Final Exam Study Packet. These are examples that I'm going to go through if you need some assistance doing the problems. Okay, first up, number 1, it says find the value of x given AB is 26. You can see here down at the bottom we have this should say AC. AC is 26. So we have AC, this whole line, and then we're given this dot here and these values for AB and BC. So you can, what is the given? The given is AB and BC, even though they're given as algebraic expressions. So what do we know? We know that 2 parts equal a whole. So we know that AB plus BC equals the entire thing AC. So we can then find out that write this as a formula, and then we can use the substitution properties. Substitute this in for AB, substitute this in for BC, and then we have our value here that we know for AC, and we can solve the equation. So if we look here, what we needed to do, this was the AB, this is the BC, this is AC. Then we're going to combine like terms. 5x plus x is 6x, and positive 1 plus negative 5 is negative 4. Now we have a 2-step equation. We add 4 to both sides. These then cancel out, leaving us with 6x, and then 26 plus 4 is 30. Now we're going to divide by 6 to isolate our variable, and we get x equals 5. And the question just asked for the value of x. So there you go. All right, let's move on to number 2. Number 2 says to find the value of x as well, but now we're looking at a diagram of angles, okay? We have 2 algebraic expressions for our angles. So what do we know, okay? We know that 2 lines that are next to each other that form a straight line are called a linear pair. And what is special about linear pairs? They form a line, and a line or a straight angle is always equal to 180. So if all the angles are equal to 180, then we can say that 4x minus 6 plus 5x plus 6 is then equal to 180, since 2 parts equal a whole. So we can then write that as an equation, and we can solve for it. Just like before, we're going to combine like terms. 5x plus 4x is 9x, and positive 6 plus negative 6 is 0. So I'm already at a 1-step equation. I divide by 9, I get x equals 20, and I'm done with my problem. Okay, so now let's look at number 3. Number 3 says a line is perpendicular to a line C. Line B is parallel to a line A. Are lines B and C perpendicular or parallel? Just remember, these are examples that I'm giving you that are different than what's on your geo packet. It should then help you be able to do the problems. So this is a little bit different, but for number 3, what you need to do is you need to draw a diagram. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw my first line, A. Okay, so I have line A, and then I see that it's perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular is when they cross at a 90-degree angle to line C. So I'm going to go ahead and draw line C here that is perpendicular. All right, so I know those two are a 90-degree angle. Then the next part it tells me is line B is parallel to line A. So we know that parallel means that they're going in the same direction and will never intersect. So I'm going to go ahead and draw line B parallel line A. Now I can look at my picture and make the conclusions that it's asking. So lines B and C. Well, I have my line B here, and I have my line C here, so we can see that they must be perpendicular. And that's the answer to that question. Okay, number 4, find the measure of an angle. So it's asking you for the measure in this problem, we're asking for DBC. So in your problem as well, it's asking for a part of it. And we don't know the measure of this. We don't know the measure of this angle either. But we do know that this entire angle here, this entire angle, ABC, we know it's a right angle, so that means that ABC equals 90 degrees. What else do we know? We know that 2 parts equal a whole. Just like on some of our previous problems, so 2 parts equal a whole. So the whole is 90 degrees this time, but we can go ahead and then solve for x by adding these two together. So we can write an equation that says 4x plus 8 plus 2x plus 16 is equal to 90, because 2 parts equal a whole, and my whole is angle ABC, and ABC is a right angle, and it's 90 degrees. So I can solve for x. So I went ahead and put this here. Again, I combined like terms, so I'm going to have 4x plus 2x gives me 6x, and 8 plus 16 gives me 24. I then subtract 24 from both sides, and I get 6x equals 66. I think I did this, yep, that's correct. And then divide by 6, and I get x equals 11. But right here, don't forget, right, the question is asking for the measure of DBC, not the value of x. So then I must go ahead and plug this value of x back in to the equation that I got. But I want just DBC. Remember, we traced it here. So DBC is 4x plus 8, and I'm going to put this value of 11 in there to solve for x. So 4 times 11 plus 8, 4 times 11 is 44, add 8, 53, and now I have my answer is 53 degrees. Don't forget degrees, because we're actually asking for the measure of the angle. This is proper notation. M for measure of angle, DBC equals 53 degrees. Okay, so the next one, it says the intersection point of planes. I'm not going to draw a diagram here. It's just important to know that planes intersect on a line. So my drawing is horrible. This line that's labeled, this is the intersection point. It's labeled AB. Any 2 points on this line can be used to determine lines intersect at a point. So remember that. So anytime you have 2 lines intersecting, whatever that point is labeled as, okay? And this, think of intersection as where they cross or touch. Number 6 and 7, measuring angles and classifying angles. Okay, so it's important to know these facts about angles for classifying them. Acute is less than 90 degrees. Right is exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse is anything bigger than 90 but less than 180. And then a straight angle is exactly 180. Okay, so here I have a diagram, and it's measured. You start here at 0, and then you count. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 75. So this measures 75. Well, what happens when they draw something like this right here? And now you have to measure that angle in between. So now it's telling me, asking me, let's label this A, B, C. And it says, what's the measure of angle A, B, C? So you just start at one side, right? And you make this your terminal ray, and you count over. So I'm at 75, but I'm just going to count to here, and that gives me 10. I'm going to go 10 more, and I'm at 20. I'm going to go 10 more, and I'm at 30, and then I only have 5 more. So this angle is 35 degrees. And then you can classify that 35 degrees is less than 90, so it's an acute angle. All right, so now it says find the measure of CBE. Okay, so we've got to look at our picture, and CBE is this angle right here. Very similar to our other problems. Okay, we have to solve for x and then substitute that value back in to find the measure of angle. So you always ask yourself when you're looking at this diagram, what do I know? In this case, I'm going to look at this diagram and go, I know that these two angles are vertical angles. These two angles are also vertical angles, but I don't really care about them. So what do we know about vertical angles? We know vertical angles are equal to each other, or congruent. So we can then set those two algebraic expressions equal to each other and solve for x. So I've put them equal to each other. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4x from both sides. And I get x minus 6 is equal to 6. Now I'm going to add 6 to both sides, and I get x equals 12. Am I done? Nope. You should be answering, no, you're not done, because the question asks for the measure of the angle, so we have to substitute x back into the angle. Identify on your diagram what angle it's asking for. In this case, my problem's asking for CBE, so that's 5x plus 6. Okay, and so I'm just going to plug x into there to find my answer. And you can see 5 times 12 plus 6, 5 times 12, 60 plus 6, and then again, see that notation, measure of angle E equals 66 degrees, because we're actually talking about a measurement value, so you need that degrees. All right, numbers 9 through 12, we're almost done. It's 2 lines and a transversal. Okay, in this case, they do not label these as parallel. So there's no special relationship that we can make from these angles. If these 2 lines were classified as parallel, then we could say that our alternate interior angles are congruent, our alternate exterior angles are congruent, our same side interior adds 90, and our corresponding angles are congruent. So let's look at one by one these different special angles. They're still the same special angles, even if the lines aren't parallel. So just remember, 2 lines in a transversal is anytime you have 2 lines and a line crossing them both. That's when these special relationships are created. So the first one we're going to look at is corresponding. Corresponding we think of as they correspond in the same relationship to their specific line and the transversal. So remember, this is the transversal. So we can see here that one is above the transversal and to the left of its line. So we then look for the same relationship. I want another one that's above the transversal and left of its respective line. So that would be 3. And there's more than one set of corresponding angles. And I'm going to list them here for you. So here they are, 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 5 and 7, 6 and 8. Again, same relationship to the transversal. 6 is below the transversal and to the right of its line. So the corresponding angle will be below the transversal and to the right of its respective line. That's 8. Okay, so now let's look at alternate interior angles. Okay, so what we're talking about is interior, is between the two lines. Okay, not the transversal, but between the two lines. We have two lines here, and we want interior means in between, okay? All this right here, this is interior, okay? And then alternate means they're on the alternate sides of the transversal. If we flip this upside down like this, it's still on the interior and on alternate sides of the transversal. Okay, so in this case, alternate interior angles would then be 2 and 7, and then the other pair is, there's always 2 sets of alternate interior angles. Only 2 sets, or 2 lines and 1 transversal. Okay, let's look at the alternate exterior. Same concept, but now we're looking at exterior, outside of the 2 lines. So in this case, exterior is here, and then alternating again is on opposite sides of the transversal. So this is on above the transversal, so alternate to above the transversal would be below the transversal. And you can see here I've listed them. Okay, the last set of angles that we're going to be looking at is called the same side interior angles. So we're going back to the yellow portion that we were looking at, and we're looking at the interior, okay? What same side, instead of alternating, we're 6 and 3, we're on the alternate sides of the transversal. Same side means they're on the same side of the transversal and interior. So there we go, we have 2 and 3 and 6 and 7. All of these always have 2, and corresponding will always have 4 sets. All right, last problem for the set is find the midpoint of AB given these 2 points. The first thing we need to understand is what it's asking, okay? I'm just gonna sketch, these aren't to scale of what these are, but what it's saying is that you have, let me get a different color real quick. 2 points on a Cartesian plane that have created a segment, and it wants to know the midpoint. That midpoint is also a point on the Cartesian plane. So remember, when we have points, the points are always in the form x and y. And then you can assign values such as, I like to write x of the midpoint, and then this would be x1, y1. You could have labeled this x1, y1 as well, as long as they aren't the same 2. Okay, so we have a formula to find this value because it's not very easy to measure the distance. So the midpoint formula is y x2 plus x1 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. See, this is my xm and my ym, my midpoint values. It's an ordered pair as well. It needs parentheses and a comma to be correct. You just plug the values in. I'm going to go ahead, the best way to do this is to go ahead and assign values. I'm going to assign this as x1, y1, because remember, points are always x, y. And this is going to be x2, y2. So now I can just substitute these values in. So x1 is 16 plus x2, which is 8, divided by 2. And then I have x1, or y1, which is 5, and y2, which is 7. 16 plus 8 is 24, 5 plus 7 is 12. Divide these by 2, and this is my point. See that it's in the form parentheses, comma, because this is the x of my midpoint, my y of my midpoint, and I could graph this on a Cartesian plane. Okay, that's it. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving break, and that you remember this stuff for the final that's coming up in just a few weeks after break. Talk to you later.